Pull up a chair and buckle up. It's the Original Strength Podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to this week's edition of the Original Strength Podcast. I am going to be the host and guest this week. I didn't think it was really fair for someone to have to be the guest after Zandy, the Black Mermaid. That would be brutal. That was just such an amazing conversation. So I figured I would take the brunt of that and be the letdown after that conversation. So this week we're just going to do some brief Q&A, some announcements, and maybe tell a story. You know what? We'll start with the story. So it's Christmas week, and growing up, my favorite cartoon was the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoon, and I don't know if it was just, because the animation was different, or it was just like I loved Christmas, but whatever. I loved Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And after, watching that for 47 years, I finally realized something pretty disturbing. So do you guys remember Hermie, the elf, who did not want to be an elf or make toys? He wanted to be a dentist. I want to be a dentist. So Hermie and Rudolph actually hook up in the cartoon, and in the original version they sing this song, "We're a couple of misfits, not a couple of nitwits." And I think later on, for PC reasons, that actually got taken out of the cartoon. But I was a fan, and I actually had the soundtrack of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, so it used to be in there. Anyway, we're a couple of misfits, not a couple of nitwits. And I always kind of liked Hermie because, he was kind of quirky. I want to be a dentist. I mean, that was neat. Anyway, so Rudolph and Hermie hook up, and they go off, on their own, and because they're misfits, so they're leaving town, and they come across the island of misfit toys. And that kind of always used to scare me a little bit because the lion was so scary. So the king lion with wings. But anyway, it was the Island of Misfit Toys because no one wanted these toys. But it was the Island of Misfit Toys, and Hermie was an elf, a toy maker, who was also considered himself to be a misfit. So what I'm saying is, guys, Hermie created the Island of Misfit Toys because he was a misfit, and he didn't even want to be a toy maker. He wanted to be a dentist, or so he said. That is, that's mind-blowing, right? So you got all these toys that nobody wants to play with, and they're alive, and they feel sad because who wants to play with a Charlie in the box? Come on, that is that's just wrong. And well, they find this Island of Misfit Toys that obviously was created by Hermie, the dentist, with his friend, Rudolph, and anyway, They go and they continue their journey, and what's really disturbing about that too is come on, Santa, you had to know that you had these elves making these crap toys that no kid wanted to play with, but the toys were alive, and you were just throwing them on this island to be depressed forever, because at the end of the cartoon, they found all these children that wanted the misfit toys, and they were just delivering them, through umbrellas and parachutes off the back of the sleigh. Well, if it was that easy, then why? Santa, really, anytime you could have still taken those toys. Anyway, that's another part of the story that maybe for later times. But here's what I've discovered. So more than that. So Hermie is the mastermind of the Island of Misfit Toys. But not only that. So Rudolph is the red-nosed reindeer, and he goes off with his friend Hermie, who's obviously a mastermind. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is if you connect all the dots, Hermie is a Sith Lord, and Rudolph is his apprentice. Think about it. Rudolph comes back with his glowing red nose on the dark side, in the dark, lighting up things in the dark with his glowing red nose. And when he comes back, he is the master of all the other reindeer, wielding an amazing power. So much power that Santa is asking him for help when really, let's be honest, at the beginning of the cartoon, Santa was actually kind of a jerk to Rudolph. Anyway, Santa? What was it Dana Carvey used to, the church lady on Saturday Night Live? If you rearrange Santa, you get Satan? Anyway, I don't know if I agree with that, but the writing's been on the wall the whole time. Scary. But Hermie is obviously a Sith Lord, and Rudolph was his apprentice. And together, where there's one, there's two. So that is my great epiphany about the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Christmas cartoon. It was actually an undercover story about the Sith Lord and his apprentice, Hermie and Rudolph, the red-nosed lightsaber wielding reindeer that enslaves all the other reindeer. So there's my first story. I know it's weird, but you gotta admit, it's been there all the time, and it makes Jar Jar Binks make so much more sense now, doesn't it? Anyway, all right, so let's get into, well, some announcements first. So some of you have been writing in and asking about my mom. Mom's doing great. Physically, she can do anything. She's moving like a 30-year-old, and she's like way more than 30. So that's really, really good. Her aphasia, which is her word salad issue, is getting much, much better. We took her to a neurologist, and he's testing her out, and he's doing I have a degree in math, so this is funny to me. Anyway, he's like, well, I'm gonna make her do arithmetic. So he's like asking her these numbers, like addition numbers and stuff. And I'm like, well, mom's getting them. I'm like, damn, that's pretty good. And then I'm sorry. And then he asked her like these subtraction things, like with like 2-digit subtraction things like that. And I'm like, and I'm sitting here trying to like in my head, and then I have to use my fingers, and mom's just spitting out the numbers. I'm like, son of a wow. So I think mom's doing great. So it's gonna be just a good Christmas because everybody's here on that end. So that's nice. All right, so Q&A time. I had some people write in. And a lot of people actually write this particular question in. So I do a lot of stuff on the ground with crawling, with rocking, with a lot of 4 points of contact, hands and knees, hands and feet. And people are always asking about modifications for sore wrist, or wrist that just won't cooperate or don't want to cooperate with being on the ground. And so it's always great and a good idea to meet your body where it's at. So simple fix is just get on your fist. So that your wrist isn't going through hyperextension or extension. It's not hyper, but it probably feels hyper to you if you don't like it, if your wrist doesn't like it. So you can always just be on your knuckles, and that keeps your wrist straight. And that's one thing you can do. And depending on the surface you're on, if you're on soft padding or carpet, that's probably okay. But if you're on hard floors, or even if the padding's getting to you and you'd rather not be on your knuckles, because again, there's more joints and stuff in there too that maybe they don't like that. I have found that this is visual for those of you listening, but these are push-up stands. They're very amazing. Like, they allow you to keep your wrists fairly straight when you're crawling. They have great tread and traction on them for slippery surfaces, for hard floors. The knuckles never touch the floor. And for people that so some other people have written in, apparently my arms are longer than some people's arms, and so I can get away with doing a lot of those things I do on the floor. These make your arms about 2 to 3 inches longer. So they give you more clearing room for when you're doing elevated work, or you're doing fancy stuff on your hands and feet. But these also are great for taking the stress off of the wrist. And I use these with my clients. I don't make any money off of these. These are they're cheap. You can get them on Amazon for $15. I will put a link for them from Amazon or wherever I can find them on the notes of this show, in case you are one of those people that have wrist issues and you would like a very affordable, very awesome training tool. These are push-up stands. You can do push-ups with them, whatever type of push-up you want to do. Dandas, Hindu push-ups, regular push-ups, rocking push-ups, whatever. Handstand push-ups, these work great for those too. But if you just do crawling and backwards crawling, crab crawling, elevated work, these are perfect. Very light, and they solve a lot of the wrist issues and knuckle issues for those of you that have those as well. Again, cheap, $15. That's my Christmas suggestion. It's late, but every day should be Christmas. The next question I have is, This gentleman writes in asking about Hindu squats. Do you recommend a warm up movement before doing these, or can I go straight from the couch to starting your reps with the Hindu squat? Um, yes. So this is more of a complicated answer. It's a simple question. It's a great question. It's a great question. So the question is should you do a warm up before you do Hindu squats, or can you just jump into Hindu squats? And I'm going to expand that question a little bit. Should you do a warm up before you do anything physically active, or can you just jump into physically active things? And the answer is yes. Yes, you should do both. And it depends on you and on your body. So if you do not have a good reflexive foundation, a reflexive base of strength and mobility, if your body's not really tied together all that great just yet, then yes, by all means, doing a warm-up's not a bad idea. Getting your blood flowing. Now, what do you call a warm-up? That should be one of the questions. Because there are different types of warm-up, and if your idea of warm-up is stretching and like really like trying to lengthen things, then I'm not really sure about that. But you could if you like to, and you have found in your history of your body that doesn't really cause you any issues. But if your idea of warm up is just get your blood flowing and make sure your joints are moving well and everything's feeling good before you jump into the physical activity of your choice, then yes, do a warm up. That is great. Now, if your body is such that you are tied together well, and you can actually, some of you listening can actually go from the couch to running a full sprint if you're tied together well. That is possible. Like, that is the way things should be. And think about it, we would not be here today if our ancestors were not able to go from 0 to 60 at the snap of a finger, right? So we are designed to be able to completely be relaxed to full sprint or fight or throwing a spear or climbing a tree just at the blink of an eye if we have to. And so if your body's tied together well, yeah, you can jump right into doing Hindu squats without any warm-up whatsoever, or whatever your physical activity of choice is. Now, the thing is though, you just want to honor you, meet your body where it's at. And there's so many different variables to that. Like, one is, do you have the physical awareness to act? Because your body can change from day to day. It may be today you can jump into full sprint right off the couch, but tomorrow your body might be like, hey, Tim, you did that yesterday, that was great, but today I would like a little warm up before we do anything vigorous. And so listen, it's okay. You have a different body every day. You got a different nervous system every day. It might vary from day to day what you should do or what you feel like you should do, and that is great if you're listening to your body. So I guess my biggest thing is check in with you and be honest with yourself. Like, where is your body at, for one, and then go from there. The other thing is that you should know, though, is your body might be ready, but your mind might be thinking something else. And that's an issue because your body's actually going to follow your mind. My point to that is if you feel mentally that it is safer and more wise to do a warm-up before you jump into a training activity or something that's vigorous and explosive, then by all means you need to follow your mental thought process, because your body's going to hang on to that and follow that and more likely express those thoughts anyway. Meaning, if you think you should do a warm-up before you do something vigorous and you ignore that and you jump into doing that something vigorous, you're still going to hold on to that thought, man, I really think I should do warm-up or something vigorous, and it's going to create just a little bit of fear, a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of tightness or tension in your nervous system, and your body will more than likely is going to reflect that. And then you're going to injure yourself and you're going to be like, dang it, I knew I should have done that. And yes, you should have done that because you were thinking about that you should have done it to start with, and you were uneasy. You had unease about jumping into your routine. All of that to say is yes. The answer to your question, sir, is a great question, is yes. If you think you should do a warm-up please do a warm-up. If your body's telling you it should do a warm-up, please do a warm-up. If you know your body's well tied together and you feel great and feel like a spring chicken, no, you don't have to do a warm-up. But the thing is you just really need to honor you and meet you where you are at. Doesn't really matter what I think. How do you feel when you get up in the morning or when you engage in your training time? How do you feel right now? And go from there. That's my best answer. And if you always just want to, if you're a dot your I's, cross your T kind of guy, and you're better safe than sorry, then warm up. And warm-ups don't have to be like 30 minutes. You can warm up for 2. You can warm up for 5. Whatever your sweet spot is, go for that. Know you. Explore you. Be curious about you. And, discover what is the best warm-up time I can do. What are the best warm-up movements I could do? Do I really even need to do Hindu squats? Tim likes them, but that doesn't mean, do I need to like them because Tim likes them? No, not necessarily. That's the beautiful thing about movement in your body is do the things that make you feel good and the things that bring joy and light your wick, right? All right, so that is the end of the Q&A. Last announcement is the book. The book made an announcement, I don't know when that was, it seems like months ago, about looking for a title for the book. And a lot of you wonderful folks wrote in some great title suggestions, and I really thought we had one nailed down because it made so much sense, because I said this was a continuation of discovering you, and I said a little bit of what it was about, and some of you said, well, just call it Being You. And I was like, Being You. That is it. That is it. But that's not it. So upon further reflection and the circumstances and how the stars lined up, the title of the book is going to be called Be Naked. Yeah, judge that book by its cover, baby. Be naked. Anyway, that's the name of the book. Hopefully, it's Christmas week. Hopefully, the early January, mid-January, it will be available for purchase, consumption, perusal, with a fantastic title that just reading it out in public is going to catch attention and is going to make other people, I mean, it's a conversation piece. People are going to be like, what are you reading? So really excited about that. Thank you guys so much for writing in and all your suggestions. They were great, and I really did love Being You. But something happened, and it's Be Naked. That's the title, because that is just, well, that's what the book's about. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning into this week's edition of the Original Strength BodCast. Hope you have a very wonderful holiday week, whatever it is you're celebrating, Christmas or whatever other religious celebrations you have at this time of year. I just hope it's a wonderful week. If nothing else, I hope you have a great ending to the year 2022 and an awesome beginning to the year 2023. And honestly, I just hope every day is great, because life is short and we should aim high, right? All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm Tim, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now get outside and play.